Ridge Conservation Commission meeting for October 5th, 2023. We are in Town Hall. I will repeat, we are in Town Hall on the second floor if you're coming to the meeting. The Commission will be holding this meeting in person with the option for virtual attendance. In-person attendance will be at the location in the Town Hall. So with that, Eric, let's go with
Eric Gaspar, present.
Ted Winglass, present.
Roy Bishop, present.
Austin Stuber, present.
Ed Goodwin, present. And Becky, you're present?
Present. Marin.
All right. Now, do we have any walk-ins? No. All right, we've got a quorum check. Do we want to go to,
We can go.
Do I have to read the statement or?
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and read it.
Okay. In the interest of saving time, the Sturbridge Conservation Commission will hold all public hearings tonight for work within a wetland, water body or resource area and/or within the 200-foot buffer zone to a wetland, water body or resource area in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40 and associated regulations, and the Town of Sturbridge Wetland Bylaws associated regulations. We will not be reading the newspaper ad. Prior to opening the first hearing for each project, the applicant is to submit proof of notification to abutters within 200 feet of the subject's property line and proof of legal newspaper advertisement. If these items are not submitted, the public hearing will not open. Additionally, prior to the start of each public hearing, we will announce the location of the project, the applicant, and the applicant's representative. If any of the visitors have not legibly signed in yet, please do. Also, if any visitors are recording this meeting, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Just before we get started, Julian, I see that you're on here for the 3 Glenridge Road hearing. The only thing that we weren't sure if you were coming virtually or not, we just need your proof of abutter notifications before we open that hearing. So if you could email those over, we can check those. Otherwise, we don't have your receipts of abutter notifications. And you're on mute, so if you're trying to reply.
If the commissioners are following along, the detailed packet, the numbering is different than the actual agenda.
Oh.
Just to confuse you a little further.
All right.
So,
Do you want to go to wetland decisions?
Yep.
Okay, we have 446 Main Street. We have a request for a certificate of compliance, DEP file number 300-0480.
All right, so this is an older order of conditions. There was a new order that was issued because the order had expired. In addition, some of the work hadn't been completed. If you remember, this was also one of the areas where we had beaver issues. So they had redeveloped this site, got approval, put a stormwater swale in the back. They also put in a flow device in the past that failed. And they've been actually trapping and breaching the dams out there since then. So they had some work that they had to finish. We had them file a new order to finish that. And with that new order, we also included with that, they developed a beaver management plan that's actually listed as a perpetual condition for that new permit. So we do have a different mechanism in place for the management of beavers in that area. So this one, we can close this one out. It would be a complete certificate of compliance with perpetual conditions number 34, and that's for the stormwater management for that swale back there. And then we would note on the order that the beaver culverts aren't there because there was some perpetual conditions related to that.
All right. Motion to approve.
With regards to DEP file number 300-480, I'd like to make a motion to issue a complete certificate of compliance with this special condition number 34.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
no, in a second.
Give me a second.
Oh, second. All right.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Edwin Glass in favor.
Roy Bishop in favor.
Carsten Stüber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor. All right, we want to go to 446 Main Street.
No, we'll just hold off on those. We're actually at 6:05. I just want to ask, Julian, I see you unmuted yourself.
Yes,
Did you hear what I said earlier?
I'm sorry. I fumbled the buttons here. Yes, I'm here and I have the green cards. I can drop them off or I can make copies if you'd like.
Is there any way you can email them so we can open the public hearing? Because otherwise, we can't open the public hearing without the proof.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, no, because they're all green cards, so I'd have to scan them all individually, so I really can't do it right this minute.
Could you take a picture of
I
them?
mean, doesn't my affidavit cover that I have them all?
Could I
I'm sorry.
give you, do you have them with you at the moment? Because if you could.
I have them in my hand. I can give you the name of every one of them.
Any screen share?
There's-
Right, I can allow you to share your screen if you have them, and you could hold them up and show me, and we could check
all
them
right.
off.
Let me see if this works.
Well, we can do it right before, why don't, you got a few minutes, before we
Okay.
open your hearing. We have one before yours, so if you get everything kind of ready, you'll
Yep.
be able to do that right when we open that. Sound good?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. We're going to 605, 200 Charlton Road. Request for determination of applicability, modifications to existing commercial site. Cornerstone Bank is the applicant. The owner is Southbridge Savings Bank. Jim Bernardino is CMG Environmental Engineer. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. For the record, Jim Bernardino with CMG Engineering, representing Cornerstone Bank for their proposed improvements to the site. For those that may not be familiar, Cornerstone Bank right on Charlton Road. Existing conditions survey. We have the main structure in the building here. We have the proposed drive-through canopy, which is really the subject of what we're doing. We have an over a 4-acre parcel. We had Goddard Consulting delineate the resource areas on the site. Way in the back, associated with Hobbs Brook, is the mean high water line associated with the riverine aspects of the property. So we do have a 200-foot riparian zone buffer. I'll go to the next board to show that. There's also a very limited BVW as well, which is shown in the green, which has been delineated. And this orange here is a bank associated with a drainage conveyance of the stormwater that's partially collected from the Route 20 drainage and the site drainage, which all discharges to the back there. This board right here is basically a demolition plan, just to kind of get a zoomed-in aspect of what we're looking at. Again, building with the canopy that's being proposed to be removed, and this gray area is the limit of pavement that's going to be altered. The green lines here are the associated 100 and 200-foot buffer zones to the BVW in the back. 100-foot state regulated, 200-foot green zone is the 200-foot local bylaw. The blue shaded area there is the 200-foot riparian zone from the from the river in the back. As you can see from the shaded area, which is our limit of disturbance, we're outside of the 200-foot buffer zone, 200-foot riparian zone. The 200-foot local bylaw, you can see that we are proposing just some minor modifications and land alterations in there. We're able to keep alterations out of that area, but during our coordination with staff and with the planning staff, and as well as your agent as well, we looked at adding a landscape island in there. So basically, that little thumb that you see out there is the pavement removal to incorporate a landscape island. And now this one right here is just the proposed landscaping plan highlighted with the same jurisdictional buffers areas as I described previously. You can see that we're removing the canopy that's existing right there that houses 2 ATM drive-ups as well as a window along the side of the building. That'll be removed. We're going to maintain an access aisle to the side of the building for nighttime drop-off for businesses that close late, that have to deposit their cash. We're going to be introducing a very large landscape island in the middle and have a dedicated exit lane. This configuration is doable with the modification of some site circulation. Before, we had two-way traffic here. We're going to eliminate site circulation to be counterclockwise around the building. So as we know, we have a proposed, or two proposed, what they call ITMs. It's the interactive telling machines now. It's the new wave of the future. Instead of computerized, you're going to be actually have live help on the screen assist you with your banking needs. We're going to have proposed canopy over that, and just some restriping of the lines. As I mentioned before, that small finger that stuck into the jurisdictional area, that was added to increase some landscaping area, promote some additional trees, some shade over the parking area. That was some of the comments as a result of our preliminary discussions with staff. Likewise, at the entrance of the site, we're adding some additional shade trees along the corridor, even though it's outside the area, not necessarily required for zoning, but it was asked that we take a look and try to implement as much landscaping as possible on the site. So with that, the alterations are really going to be limited to those areas that I described before, which will result in a net impervious decrease of the site of over 2,000 square feet. So that in itself, is an improvement in as well as the improvements to the landscapings that are being made. No other drainage improvements are being proposed. However, we did provide a memorandum on stormwater, how we comply with the current standards, and we did put together the long-term operation and maintenance plans and things of that nature that are associated with commercial developments. With that, those are the proposed alterations. For the most part, are all outside of the local jurisdictional area. However, we felt it definitely appropriate to file an RDA with your commission. So with that, I'll open it up to everybody.
Thank you. Becky?
Sure. Just so for the record, I didn't say it earlier, but we do have proof of legal advertisement in the butter notification receipts for this. We did a site visit out there last week with some of the members. Site is not in priority or estimated habitat. As you said, most of the work is occurring outside of jurisdiction. There's just that one small landscape island within the local 200-foot buffer there. One of the things we did note on site, we talked about a little bit, there was like a lawn clipping dumping area and with some other material that was in the back. So that was one thing that was raised as a concern out there. Project includes, you can see that one of the sheets has BMPs, the catch basins in the back do lead to the resource area. So they do have some measures in place during work to protect those. I would just add excavated material not to be reused should be removed from the site. And then if they have any earthen materials that they're stockpiling for like the new landscape islands, those should be protected in case we have any precipitation, so they don't drain down to the catch basins in the back. So very minor things. So with that said, I would recommend issuing a negative number 4, not subject to the Wetlands Protection Act unless work impacts an area subject to protection. A positive 2B, we're not doing a resource area approval. And then a positive 5 with the conditions that I mentioned, in addition to installing the catch basin protections that they show on the plans.
Eric, you want to start off?
No, I'm good.
Ted?
Good.
Right.
No problem.
And I just want to reiterate and hear from you that you're going to change the clipping and dumping area that.
Yes, I've already notified the applicant of that, and
Okay.
he's reaching out to his landscapers to make sure they're aware of that. So if there's, if you're comfortable putting a condition of approval, on that negative determination, we take no exception to that. So your comment was duly noted.
Anybody in the audience? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
You guys just making fun of me because I forgot about it the last time?
Stare down.
Yeah.
2 seconds.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Ted Winglass in favor.
Roy Bishop in favor.
Lassen Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
With regards to the project at 200 Charlton Road, I'd like to make a motion to issue a determination of a negative number 4 and a positive 2B, and then lastly, a positive number 5 with the conditions that the agent laid out, specifically pointing the removal of the debris and the ceasing of the dumping.
All right, do I have a second? I have a second. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Ted Winglass in favor.
Roy Bishop in favor.
Lassen Stuber in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are now at 3 Glenridge Road, notice of intent, septic system replacement, DEP file number 300-1176. Who is, who are we dealing with on that?
So we actually have the representative on here. Julian, do you want to turn your,
Yes.
there you go, awesome.
Hi, this is Julian from New England Environmental Design. Sorry I can't be there in person. I did take the green cards. I don't know if you can, let me just do it so you can see. I stapled them together. There's
All
4
right,
of
so
them.
we got, you want to just hold it up there for a second? All right, so a little closer. Okay, I see, well, that's DEP. We have,
I can read them if you want.
yeah.
There
Yeah.
we go, he can read them.
Yep, you can read them, yep.
Okay, we have Kruzika, Benjamin and Michael, P-O-K-O-R-N-Y, James, Gustafson, David, DEP, Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. I have K-R-U-P-I-K-A. Then the next one is F-A-F-O-R-D, Jonathan. Then there's a Gaudette, a Curry, a J-U-A-I-R-E, and a Peck. Those are the ones that responded, and I have the cards, and I can get them to you tomorrow if you want the actual physical card.
Do you have,
Quadricelli?
Quadricelli?
These are the only ones that signed and we got back in the mail.
Yes.
So I sent them to everybody on the list, and these are the only ones I got back.
You said that one, yeah. Yeah. Okay, I think we have them all. All right, I'm gonna share my screen and put the
Diana?
plan up there for you and allow you to present that.
Okay. So what we have is a septic repair for a failed septic system at the property. The existing system is pretty much, it's actually shown on the plan and dotted. We're actually further away from this wetland and resource area with the proposed system than the original. It's a failed system. It's a gravelly material. We meet all Title V requirements and setbacks to fit this here. We did have, unfortunately, a little issue that across the street, this house has been here for 42 years, same original people who built it. Across the street, there was a house developed and they drilled a well, so they blocked us from being able to use some of our land to fit the system because they have a well drilled and we would have been within 100 feet, and I have to be 100 feet away with a septic system under Title V. So the configuration is a little odd, but it meets the requirements. I kept it as far away from the resource area as I possibly could and fit it on the property. We did go out and, per your request, I put some stakes along the brook, as you saw, the flowing water and the lawn, they're kind of intertwining, so I made a judgment on, and I put stakes where I'm calling the main of the resource area. We're still well over 50 feet away with our septic, so we meet Title V, and now it's demarked out in the field. I'm proposing a line of siltation barrier, erosion control, right along the edge of the driveway, because they're gonna need the driveway to use to bring the trucks in and the machinery to build this thing. So I figured we'd put it on that side of the driveway so that they wouldn't be jumping over it. We had a very tight spot. We have wells on our own property and our other property that we had to stay 100 feet away from. We're within 100 on our own, but that's allowed by Title V with some certain concessions, which we're gonna go through. But as far as the Wetland Protection Act, this is the best we can fit and keep away from the resource as best as we can do it. So we're hoping to get an order of conditions to allow us to fix the failed septic system.
Great, thank you. So, right, we did go out there, do a site visit last week. I did ask that he stake the delineation out there. He did do that. I did go out there and take a look at that. As he said, it is a septic replacement. It has been filed with the Board of Health, and as he indicated, they will be doing a variance to the existing well on the site. Otherwise, he has, Board of Health has no concerns with the plan that's been presented here. It is also, so it's a buffer zone project and it's riverfront area. It's exempt to the riverfront standards because it is a septic replacement on a lot prior to the Rivers Act going in. It's all within the lawn area. I don't have any concerns with it. We have everything that we need at this point that you could move forward and vote on this if you propose to do so. I don't have any, besides our standard conditions, I wouldn't have any special conditions to add to that.
Well, the stream bank being maintained as lawn.
Oh, correct, yes. So, right, Julian, when we were out there, we noticed that they are kind of mowing down on the stream bank. That is something that is a concern, and they should cease to.
I will notify the owners of this.
So how far back do we want them from the stream? 25 feet?
So there's some
That's pretty much there. This has been done, the house has been there for 42 years, and that's what they've maintained for 42 years, so I don't want to see them losing their yard, if possible. I mean, I'm sure they'd be amenable to something, but then all what's going to happen is brush is going to grow, and it's going to not be able to be maintained. So I asked the board in this particular case, it's been like this, the original owners have been there since day one, and this is how it's been maintained. So they're hoping to not.
That's a good summary, but so you're saying that they violated the Wetland Protection Act by manicuring up to the stream.
Well, I can't speak on what permit they got before they built this 42 years ago, which maybe that was allowed by this board, so I don't want to.
If they'd like to bring us their original plan.
I can't tell you guys what you want, so I'm just asking on behalf of them what they've maintained. I'm speaking on their behalf, but if you have a provision you want them to do, that's why we're here. So I think 25 feet, if you saw the size of the lot, that takes a lot of their lawn away. But so I think that's a little much, maybe
mature trees and landscaping down there. I'd say the lawn areas adjacent to the bank and the wetland flaggings, maybe, give a buffer off that, because there was, if you remember, there was a lot of landscaping in there. It wasn't all lawn. So maybe there's some middle grounds that can be met here, 5 feet off of the flagging there, allow that vegetation to be unaltered.
I didn't get to see the project. Did you?
Neither did I. 5 feet off the flagging? Or how far off is the flagging?
Yeah, because some of it actually has landscaping that goes up to it too, so.
About
Currently,
6 or 7 feet off the flagging, there was a treed area. It wasn't all manicured lawn,
Yep.
all the way up. There's a slope with the,
Took the flags right along
see those contour lines in between the driveway and the erosion controls and the wetland flagging? There's a tree, like a wooded area in between. It's not all lawn.
I believe there's a no cut zone, 5 feet off of the flagging area.
yeah, that would be, I would find that.
okay. That's that.
Yeah.
It's an improvement.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, that seems very, very fair.
Are we in agreement on that? I mean,
That works.
I have no
I guess
problem.
we're primarily hoping to replace the failed septic is our real main concern, so whatever else is just fine.
All right. Anybody in the audience like to speak on this? Any further discussion?
Like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of closing the public hearing?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Ted Winglass in favor?
Roy Bishop in favor.
Carsten Stüber in favor?
Ed Goodwin in favor.
With regards to the project at 3 Glenridge Road, DEP file number 300-1176, I'd like to make a motion to approve the project with the standard conditions that will be provided by the agent and the additional condition of maintaining a no-touch zone 5 feet off of the wetland flags that are on the plan.
Second the motion.
Yeah. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Ted Winglass in favor?
Roy Bishop in favor.
Carsten Stüber in favor?
And Ed Goodwin in favor. Thank you. All right, we are now to 94 Hall Road, notice of intent. Culvert replacement, DEP file number 300, no number?
Thank you, Julian. If you can still send those to our office, please.
Electronics fine.
So just for the record, we have proof of legal ad and a butter notification for the hearing.
Okay, all right, good.
Do you want me to put the project plans up?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Oh, that's not it. Just let me know how you want me to navigate.
Yeah,
through
we can
them.
start with this one. So thanks to the individuals that were out on the site, but just to kind of get you oriented. So there's a,
I just gotta share a screen, sorry.
yeah. So there's an intermittent stream up here that flows down into a concrete structure here, flows through a drain pipe. There's a
Is it intermittent?
Yes,
It is intermittent?
yes. There's a manhole with a catch basin grate on it here, and the drain goes down, goes underneath this existing apartment building, and then continues on across the throughout the property here. This portion here is failing underneath the building, so they need to do something to deal with that. If you want to click to the next slide, next sheet. So they've got to reroute that, the pipe. So what they're proposing to do is install a catch basin, reroute the pipe around the existing building, and then tie back into the existing line here. They're proposing to have a couple offline deep sump catch basins here and here. So any water from kind of parking areas drops into here. It'll be a deep sump catch basin, so there'll be sediment accumulation in the deep sump, and then there's a hood on it, so you'll get, prevent any oils or greases or anything from getting in this pipe. Same with this, there'll be an offline. Currently, if you look right down, you can see the water in the stream flowing underneath that catch basin. So this will be a significant improvement, because it'll allow anything that happens to get, fall into that area, it will be able to be captured, and then you can clean that out, and it's kind of offline. We looked at different alternatives in the report. We looked at trying to comply with stream crossing standards. To meet stream crossing standards to replace this whole thing, you'd require about a 10-foot by 33-foot box culvert, which is, it's impossible to install in this particular site, given the existing access, the existing buildings, the grades, everything else. So what we're doing is trying to improve it. We're increasing the size of this culvert, so it's a 30-inch culvert. whereas the existing, I believe, is 24-inch. So it'll be rerouted, captured here, and then rerouted around the building. We've got provisions for pumping around if need be. So they'll install a pump and then pump around during construction, but the intent is to do it while it's in the dry, presumably next year. You know, hopefully it doesn't rain as much as we've had this past year, but we've got provisions so that we can pump around during construction. We looked at, during the site walk, there was some questions, you know, whether we can eliminate this catch basin. If you look at the grading here, this is just a big bowl. This is existing lawn back here, and everything drains down into this catch basin. So if we eliminated this catch basin, essentially in storm events, it would pond at least to this contour line and potentially even higher. And the only place it would drain would be back towards the existing structure, so that we really need to have a drain there. The other thing too is if, for instance, this were to get clogged, any overflow would come over and then drop into this catch basin. So it's kind of like a backup system. So if there's too much flows, it can be captured here and rerouted around. The other thing we looked into is the possibility of potentially daylighting portions of the stream. We talked to the contractor, we looked at the grades through here, and it's going to be extremely difficult. Essentially what you're doing is directing water directly towards, this is about 25 feet off the back of the building. So to reroute that stream, to open that up, you'd have a stream channel very, very close to this building. And the other thing, if you look, there's some drains in through here. So there's a high groundwater table. So you'd have to do some significant type of drain back here to be able to make sure that the apartment complex stays dry. So we looked into that, determined that that's not feasible. So it's essentially the best situation is to simply reroute this to eliminate it, this structure here. Once this is pulled out and rerouted, this existing drain line will be filled with flowable fill, so completely sealed off, so that there will be no settling or anything in through there. We also looked at, during the site walk, they asked why we went this way as opposed to coming this way. And there's actually a sewer line that comes through here, so they have to try and work around that. And they just felt that it's easier to come around this side of the building. They can do it with limited impact to, they just have to cross, this walkway here, and then a little bit of work at the corner here near the pavement. But I think this is the best route to get around and limit the amount of disturbance on the site to the existing, paved areas and that sort of thing. So
there is underground electric on that alternate side as well. So there'd be a utility conflicts that we'd have to address if we were to go on the other side of the building there.
So that's it, essentially, in a nutshell. I'd be happy to answer questions. Chris is here, he can answer questions. Unfortunately, we don't have a DEP file number. It's typical with DEP these days that it's like pulling teeth trying to get a file number out of them.
Especially for commercial projects.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
some of the single-family house ones come in a lot sooner.
even those I've had trouble lately, so, but.
Anything?
Thank you for looking into, like we said, we had the site visit, and we did ask some additional questions. It is a challenging site. We have to bring this back anyways because we don't have the file number, so it'd be nice if you just do a quick, narrative that includes those other alternatives that we talked about that you looked into, that we can have that for the file. I think that's warranted with showing for the stream crossing standards. Good improvements to add the drainage improvements here. It is commercial property, so it's considered redevelopment. The hood in the catch basin in the parking lot will go a long way because there probably are no measures within those catch basins, and they do discharge into the stream. I didn't know, I did look kind of further at this, so we actually did, from Eric, I remember everyone else wasn't on the board then, but in 2021 we did issue some emergency authorizations here because there was a failure of the pipe, so they did work in the northern part and the southern part to make those repairs, and that's when they cambered that pipe too and realized that this pipe has been starting to fail. So there is another catch basin a little bit lower that in the parking lot, right here, and that's on line with the stream. Do you know if that one has anything in the catch basin for contaminants or?
I'm not certain. I
I mean,
could check on notes, but yeah.
While we're here, I mean, it really would be nice if that could be an improvement that the applicant would be willing to do and the board saw it warranted, because taking everything off that parking lot untreated and right into that stream, all of that discharges down across the street,
Yeah,
goes
is it
into.
going across the street in one spot?
Excuse me?
Is it growing across the street in one spot?
Yes, yep. Yeah, it goes down,
Can you bring it up and show it?
so it comes down through here. It's solid all the way through here, I believe, if I remember correctly, and then goes underneath Hall Road, and it goes,
Under Route 20 into Hobbs
Yeah, it
Brook
keeps
across the
going,
street,
so.
yeah. Yeah.
No,
You mean the parking lot stormwater? What are you looking for, the stream?
it's drain.
The stream, that's the stream, yep. If you
Yeah, but
remember,
it doesn't, it dissipates across the street. It's not
piped?
piped to.
Correct, it's piped all the way under Hall Road, and then it opens up across the street.
Right.
And then it's piped under Route 20.
yeah, it's
Opens up
quite a
again.
ways underneath Hall Road, if I remember correctly, because I was gonna put some flags like right where it came out, but I think it's well onto that property, if I remember correctly, before it daylights.
Right, I mean, everything that comes off the parking lot here, I think, comes down the
It
driveway.
crosses at the same spot. That was my question, and you said
Yeah,
yes.
it's, so everything from the site goes through that culvert.
Rick, any questions?
Yeah, were you satisfied with the answer about the grassed area? And
Well, we could add conditions that
I was.
stopped using.
Chemicals.
Chemicals on the grass
Right.
and things.
Yeah.
If you looked at the whole area,
yeah,
you know, I think even the questions that we asked were slightly premature,
yeah,
you know?
okay. All right. No additional
You agree with
questions.
that,
I didn't fully understand the explanation,
Yeah.
so I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
you were satisfied. Okay, thank you.
I'm good. I add a couple things. Fencing up
Yeah, we can add that
at
fencing.
the edge of the property.
That was a good suggestion. So just for those that weren't there, there's existing fencing that essentially wraps, so the stream comes down and there's a concrete structure.
Term fence.
It's not really a fencing, it's just a,
Well, no, I was gonna explain, there's two different sections. So essentially, what you've got is a concrete structure, and it's got holes in the sides, which the stream drains into, and then there's a cap on the top, so that anything, if those were to get clogged, the water would rise to an elevation and then drop in the top. Because it's an apartment complex with kids around, so there's a fence.
Can you move that up so they can see it?
And
So there's a
last one.
fence currently that goes, wraps around the back of this. It's like a small, like, welded wire fence. The fence that's in the front literally is like sticks, you know, I don't think it would, you couldn't stop anything. So essentially what we'll propose is simply connect through and just put a chain link fence or some type of fence to connect, to keep at the edge of the lawn here.
I think prior to them making those repairs, there was some fence there. That's why someone probably rebuilt that there. And prior to that, it actually was just an open pipe there that went through, and that could have been a safety hazard for kids. So, I mean, it's a little bit different now, but there's still some hazard there. So I do think it's warranted. So, right, if you could add that to the plan, note it in the O&M to keep up with it.
My memory of it is that there was all brush there.
When we went before?
Yeah.
Right, I think.
It was not cleared out the way it is now.
Yeah, and I think that fence that's a little further up on the stream, I think that actually was, like, they used that to help kind of collect debris coming down. I don't know, or it just did, it inadvertently did, but, yeah, it definitely should be protected for kids, so.
Anybody in the audience like to speak on this? Seeing nobody?
Continuation to the 26th? Yep. I'd like to make a motion to continue the public hearing until the 26th of October.
Second the motion.
Any discussion? Seeing none?
Eric
You're in
Gaspar
agreement
in
with that,
favor?
right? Yep. All in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Ted Winglass in favor.
Roy Bishop in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we're at 82 Paradise.
Is this where our agendas depart from each other?
I don't know, but.
What,
Why the
am I,
regular
what,
agenda?
am I, got the wrong?
No,
No, you're correct.
you're right.
Okay, 82 Paradise Lane, notice of intent, raise and rebuild of a lakefront cottage, DEP file number 300, 1170. Applicant is Glenn Ellis, and we've got Lenny Jalbert. Hi, Lenny.
Good evening.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
So, just quickly while Lenny's getting settled in there, so this is a continuation. When we last saw this, a couple of things that we're looking for revisions to the plan. One of them was to add the riverfront area on here. That has been included on here, and we have the additional supporting documentation that was requested by DEP, as well as the impact calculations for a riparian area. And then also, what was requested by the board was a restoration within the 25-foot buffer zone to Big Alum. So Lenny has added that on here. There's trees and shrubs proposed in there, as well as the removal of the stones that were under the, that are under the existing cottage. Lenny, is there anything else you want to add on there?
Okay. What actually took place here is that when we did it originally, we never thought about the brook that's adjacent to this in the westerly direction, which is right here on this side. What happens is it goes uphill from here. It goes up a ways. There's a peninsula that comes out here back into the lake, and then the brook is way down below here, which is over 200 feet from the corner of where we were standing. We went out there later on because of the request from DEP is to locate the stream itself. What we did is we took the existing stream, the bank of the existing stream, and then took from there the 200-foot line and transposed it into that area there. What we actually did is that the riparian area there is all within the outer 200 feet. This is the 200-foot line, and then it just takes that section of the house itself. What we actually did is that the existing development on the proposed area, and then the area within the 100 to 200 feet, which is this area here, which we took and encompassed the whole thing on the lot itself, came out to be 2,186 square feet. What we actually did is we in the house itself is only 485 square feet within the riparian zone. And in a sense of moving the house up here, which we did originally, we eliminated all the setback in here, which is over 1,200 square feet, which is the existing structure, and moved the house over here over 50 feet, and then replanted the area in the front of the waterfront here to revegetate that and not make it a lawn, but revegetate it with plants and stuff. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Becky?
Okay, so, right, there is some riverfront impact here. However, this is a lot that was developed prior to the Rivers Act, and it's previously developed in those areas. So I think that moving and shifting the house back is the better alternative here, and there's no concerns with that impact to riverfront area because it's previously developed and maintained as a yard. which is better than having it closer to the lake down here. So I think that's, overall, the project, we talked about it kind of in detail with some of the mitigation measures they also have with the drainage and the, you know, permeable paver driveway and patio, as well as, some stormwater infiltration proposed for the house here. If the board sees fit, could vote to approve the project. I did list in the detailed agenda, some conditions to include in there. I don't know if you want me to read them all out loud or not, but they are listed there for you.
Read them out loud, huh?
Want me to?
Versus read them to yourself?
Well, I think you already read them, but,
Yeah.
you want me to say them for the
No,
record?
no, I
but-
don't. No, I don't. I was being wise.
You, Ed? No.
No, just as a point of interest, which is irrelevant, but the fact of the matter is the DEP has a regulation for their streams at 200 feet from the bank of the stream. However, if you take a look at this site here, it is virtually impossible for any drainage from this site to hit that brook on that area, because we're going uphill maybe 20 feet, 25 feet, and then going over to the stream, where this stream here actually is maybe 20 to 25 feet higher than this property here, even though that it is within the 200-foot buffer. But we have no way of
Eric, you have anything?
connecting.
No, I mean, I think this is a vast improvement, so I'm happy.
Yeah, they seem to do everything we asked them to do, so.
Good work.
Lenny, just, all of your projects, just bring them like this.
Lenny, you're gonna be removing gravel from the site?
No,
No?
no, not really,
You're not gonna be filling forward, are you?
no.
When you dig, because you're digging into the side of the hill there to put the building in, right?
Correct. We'll be digging in there, but what we're doing is we have no place to stockpile material.
Yeah.
We'd have to go from there, for the foundation, when we dig it, we go directly into a truck and load it off the site. There's no stockpiling.
That's what I thought I asked, and you said no. All right.
Well, no, we're not going to stockpile.
Thank you for the answer, that's what I wanted.
Okay.
All right. So I don't have anything else either. I have a motion? Oh, wait a minute, the audience. Anybody in the audience like to speak on this? All right,
Motion to close the public hearing.
have a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Seeing none?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Ted Winglass in favor?
Roy Bishop in favor.
Carsten Stuber in favor?
Ed Goodwin in favor.
With regards to the project at 82 Paradise Lane, DEP file number 300-1170, I'd like to make a motion to approve the project under the Wetland Protection Act with the agent's conditions and notes put into the agenda.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Ted Winglass in favor?
Roy Bishop in favor.
Carsten Stuber in favor?
Ed Goodwin in favor.
With regards to the project at 82 Paradise Lane, DEP file number 300-1170, I'd like to make a motion to approve the project under the Sturbridge Wetland bylaws with the previous conditions already agreed to and a surety bond to ensure conditions are met for $5,000.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Ted Winglass in favor?
Roy Bishop in favor.
Carsten Stuber in favor?
And Ed Goodwin in favor.
Thank you for your time.
Lenny.
Thanks, Lenny. Have a good night.
All right, we are now to 263 New Boston.
No, sorry, here, I switched to.
Okay. To 200
Yeah.
200 Haynes Street. Continued, construction of a commercial solar facility and associated appurtenance. All right, anybody coming up for this?
Yeah, so we got Adrian, she's on go-to here for us. So, right, this project was continued from the last meeting, and we were looking for the applicant representative to come back with some additional information. One of the things the board was looking for was the access for the offsite parcels before initiating the peer review, and then also some clarification. There was a question about wetland boundaries on the southern side of the property. So Adrian, you can go ahead when you're ready.
Commissioner, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Adrian Lennon with BSC Group. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. Yep, so we presented this matter at the last regularly scheduled meeting of the Conservation Commission. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review the full-size plans, which we were able to submit, and understanding that there is the intent to conduct a peer review of the site. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Can you put the plan up?
Do you want the plans up right now, or?
No, you want to just...
Well, Adrian, has there been any update on exploring kind of that southern portion with which we had the questions about the buffer zones that projected off the offsite parcel?
Regards to the resource area boundary itself?
Right, there was a question with, here I can pull up the plans if it's can kind of clarify things, but on the southern side of the property, on the Bentwood property, it was showing a buffer zone coming off of that property, but it was unclear, we didn't have a plan that showed new wetland flags where those buffer zones were coming off of. And then there was a question, right, did they delineate that based off of wetland, or were they just looking at slope changes?
My understanding is that conducted all flagging that were considered to be within boundary and withholding buffer zones to the parcel. So the buffer zones that exist off-site and that are incorporated into the site will be included in the peer review.
Where's the plans? I didn't catch any of that, did you?
Well, Adrian, a lot of what you were saying was being broken up. I don't know if your microphone, or you could try speaking directly into the computer and say that again.
Sure, no problem. Is it there?
And what happened to 5?
Okay. Not improving, it's actually worse this time.
Oh, is this better?
All right, so I pulled the plan up. I don't know if you can see my cursor here, but this is where it's showing this. There's a 200-foot buffer zone off here, and then that 500-foot buffer for that 8% slope. The question, right, we were looking at this, was there wetlands over here? This is actually where the structures, some of the condos were, as well as a septic system. So I didn't know if you had the opportunity to reach out to Goddard, who did the wetland flagging out there, to see how and what they flagged that off of. I thought that was going to be looked into.
Can you hear me a little bit better?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So the resource area that you're talking about on the south side of the parcel is included in the Goddard wetland delineation, and they have mapped it, and it's provided in their report. And also there are delineation sheets that represent it. It's very close to the structures there's a 4-family house on the south side of the abutter there that's part of a larger housing development, and there is a delineated resource area there.
Okay, is it just not on the plan sheets?
Yeah, it's just not on the plan sheets because it's not necessarily related to the parcel, which we're showing for the development purposes. But it is in the notice of intent submission as part of Goddard's peer review. Wetland delineation.
Was that part of the off-site stuff that you wanted us to gain access to, Becky?
Right, we would need to. We'd need to verify that,
Right.
yeah.
Have we made any progress on that?
Ask Adrian now.
Adrian?
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. We can provide notification to the abutters that own property that wherein there is wetland flagging, and make them aware of a peer review to be conducted pursuant to this notice of intent application.
Well, awareness is one thing, but are you going to get us permission to access the property?
That's actually not something I'm able to do as the applicant or the applicant's representative. I highly recommend that the commission's agent, work with their municipal solicitor to better understand the boundaries of
I don't mean to be argumentative.
my role as the applicant.
But that's not likely to happen. I would strongly recommend that the agent not take that on as work. That's just my opinion. If you want, we need to evaluate it. I think probably the project team should get us access to those myself. I'm only one vote out of 5, but I don't think we should be using town resources to gain access to a project that ultimately is for your benefit.
Yes, to be clear, we're able to notify the abutters, but we are not able to.
Well, I mean, we might be at a bit of a loggerhead here, at least in this situation, unless Becky's got a way forward.
If you'd like, they're saying that they're notifying, and there is a law for surveyors about, they all they have to do is notify for that. I'm not sure how that applies for municipalities. For
I'm
our
not
agents.
walking onto a property that I haven't been granted permission. and
Right,
I'm
we're not
not gonna
allowed to
recommend
access.
that you ask for permission, so.
I was gonna say, if you'd like, I can ask council for advisement on it, but.
I was under the impression after we discussed this at the last session that Adrian was gonna see if she could get.
Right, that was the impression that I had as well.
Yeah, that's what I did too. What about also, I think one of the abutters brought up, and is this going to be part of the peer review?
Would be
the
this
septic
about
system?
right here, right? What?
The septic system that they state is at the bottom of a area that has a high potential for drainage.
That's the area that they're
Yeah.
kind of showing here. It has
Yeah.
the buffer zone off of. There's a septic right in that.
It's hard for me to put that in perspective without being able to get onto the property, so I guess I'll go back to what you brought up, so.
Yeah. I don't mind looking at it, don't think we should be taking on the legwork. That's town resources that we don't need to be expending.
Well, I don't see anybody shaking their head in disagreement. I think everybody agrees. Yes, Mike.
I just had a comment. I heard the comment that the abutting property is a 4-family home. The abutting property is a 4-family home. It's not a 4-family home. It's a condominium cluster of 6 units that are connected. So it's not a 4-family home. So I don't know who was looking at the property, but that's not an accurate description of where the septic system is. It's right behind and in the northernmost corner of that property. And it's the septic system for 6 connected condominium units. Individually, they're all connected into that one system. And that was a concern that was expressed at the last meeting. That if we have a water problem there, we have 6 people that have no sanitary system. So we're concerned about that.
Where on this site, on this plan, is the system that we're talking about?
Well, it's off of the sheet here. You can't.
What distance off? Is it within 200 feet?
That we don't know. We don't have that information with
Well,
what's
if we don't
available
have that
to us.
information, we don't have enough information to make a decision.
I think Adrian mentioned that it was very close, so I think she has some idea whether or not she wants to represent it. But it's very close.
No, it's not in here.
I know that,
Ed,
Yes.
just for the record, sir, could you just,
Mark Murphy, 30 Bentwood Drive.
thank you.
Thank you.
Adrian, any progress? I know that your team was asking about septic plans for that area, and we referred you to the Board of Health to see what they had. Do you know if BSC was able to access any septic plans for that property?
I did request a set of septic plans to better understand what the site looks like, and I have not received any callback or email back from the Board of Health in Sturbridge at this time.
So where do we go from here?
Well-
We've got
The information that she says in here
Right, we don't.
Both of us have looked at this packet many of times, and I do not see the thing what she was discussing. Maybe
Right.
she could guide me better over the phone tomorrow, never did.
Right, so we need to evaluate resource area delineation out here. Due to the size and nature of the project, we do that through a peer review, so we do need to do that. However, right, we do need to be able to have access to these off-site parcels in order to do that, because they are off-site. We talked about doing the peer review. You want to wait to authorize doing that. I don't know if you still have that same position right now, because we don't have any progress made on accessing those off-site parcels. But that would be the next step when you are ready for that. And just so everybody knows, also, there is a stormwater peer review that is being conducted. It's just been started. We don't have a peer review report from CMG yet, but they are working on that. And that is not anticipated to be done for the planning board meeting that's coming up now, but for the next meeting after that too. And actually, for you folks, the planning department did ask us to let you know that their meeting will be here as well. They have to move, everything has to be moved over here.
Becky?
Is that the 10th?
Next week, yeah. Yeah,
Becky,
Yeah.
so who pays for the peer review?
the applicant does.
Okay, well, if they want the peer review to move forward, then I would think they should request that, and we can go ahead and move forward with it, if they want the project to move forward.
Yeah.
If not, it can wait until whenever, you know, I just, it doesn't, we don't have it, we want one, so.
Yeah, that
Let
was,
them decide, let them tell you.
I was.
Adrian, did you hear what he said?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to advance the peer review as requested by the commission.
Well, we wouldn't be starting the peer review. The commission's saying they want to make sure that themselves in their peer reviewer can have access to the parcels.
Well, the way I look at it is the peer review, they will have access under the
That law.
discussion that we had. So they'll have access. That doesn't, if they want to move forward with it, they can at least get that piece out of the way. And in the meantime, hopefully they'll work to get us access as a commission, and then we'll be able to ultimately move forward with the
So
project.
you guys would need to vote for that, and
Yeah.
the process, right?
No hair off our backs, that's what I look at. And it's a
Yeah.
good step for the applicant at least, and
So you're turning that into a motion?
I don't think we need to.
No?
She
Just
requested the
approve it?
peer
Well,
review.
No, you
So-
need to vote.
Sure, I would make a motion to move forward with a peer review
Request
of DEP file number 300-1173, National Grid ROW 3019.
No, this is 200 Haynes Street.
I'm sorry,
No, it's okay.
Yeah, no.
200 Haynes Street. Go back.
Swap that out for 200 Haynes Street, and I'll second it.
I got on the electric thing. So, yeah, see, there's no number, is there?
We don't have a number.
How do you? I'll make a motion to move forward with a peer review on 200 Haynes Street as requested by the board and supported by the applicant.
Second.
Discussion? We don't have a,
You're just voting for a peer review right now.
This is not a DEP file number, this is the local notice of intent under the bylaw.
all right, so we'll just vote for it then. Go ahead. All in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Ted Winglass in favor?
Bill Bishop in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor?
Ed Goodwin in favor?
All right, so just so everybody's clear, the process for peer review is that staff will put together a proposal and send that out to at least 3 firms. And then how the board has done this is that I will bring those back to you. We will get that out as soon as possible, get that back for you to review at the next meeting. You typically do that at the meeting. Sometimes you've strayed from that. However you want to move forward is up to you. We could bring that back to the next meeting, which would be October 26th. You vote on who you'd like to have do that peer review based off of what we have back for proposals. And then we provide that to the applicant to provide the funds to the town. Once we have that, we can authorize the peer review.
Right.
Is that how you'd like to
Great.
proceed? Bring that back to the meeting?
Absolutely.
Yep, sure.
The only issue that comes up, which is a little bit different, is the access. If we don't, if if we don't get access with the peer reviewer, we should stop right off. I mean, we shouldn't even get started. No sense in spending money.
Well, but it's not our money to spend. If they want to make that decision, it's not on us, right?
I agree at that point if they come back.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they know our position on us taking on the legwork to gain access. It's probably not going to go their favor. That's my opinion anyway.
All right.
Publicly stated.
Yes.
All right, so that's where we're at. What?
She wants a continuation to the next meeting.
Adrian, continuation?
Yes, that will be fine.
Great.
The next meeting is October 26th. Meeting starts at 6 PM.
Make a motion to continue the public hearing until the 26th of October.
Second the motion.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Ted Winglass in favor.
Roy Bishop in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor?
And Ed Goodwin in favor. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep.
This one's next.
What are you talking about?
Next hearing.
We New Boston Road now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Whew. That's what I was gonna do. I'm on number 5 now. 263 New Boston Road, a continued notice of intent, construction of a single-family house and associated site work, DEP 300-1166.
Thank you. But for the record, it's just a phone number to a doctor, not a check.
Well, there are probably a lot of better, you could have come up with a lot of better lines out of that.
So just for a quick summary while Glenn's settling in there. So this is for a continued notice of intent for single-family house development. The last public hearing we had, it was continued to allow for a site visit and for the applicant's representative to send in some information after the initial peer review report was done. We did perform a site visit out here last week with the applicant, their representative. We also had Brandon, our peer reviewer, who is online tonight, go out there. We did look at 3 different areas that have been brought up by peer review. 2 of the areas I think we reached decisions on site. Would you agree with that, Glenn? There was the back
Back left.
the back left area that doesn't affect the project anyways. There was the area in the center of the project site that was agreed to be reduced to an isolated wetland. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you remember the second part of the site we looked at?
Isolated wetland.
Pull it up on the plan if we
Yeah,
need to.
please do.
Yeah, we
'cause,
can get to that point. We'll let Brandon can get into that a little bit, I guess, too, but we can get into that. But there was still like the outstanding question about the front portion of the slope where the
Correct.
slopes come down. We do have Brandon on here tonight. He did stay after we left the site visit to look at it a little bit more. We did get a report from him today, did give that to everybody this evening to take a look at. He's on here to kind of go over that. I know not all the commissioners were out there, but Ed and Carson were out there. So I think the best way to kind of proceed with the hearing tonight is we can go over, Glenn, if you want to go over your report, we can let Brandon go over his findings. Commission can ask any questions at that time and talk about kind of moving forward here. Does that make sense?
Could we, thank you, if it does to the chairman. If we could put the plan up, and then we can just point at those. Thank you. Glenn Kowalski from EBT Environmental Consultants, and Mr. LeBlanc and Mrs. LeBlanc are here. And again, this is for a future home for their daughter and son-in-law.
All sorts of stuff in here. Oh, that's the old plan there. Just give me a moment.
Yeah.
Where is it? All right, I'm just gonna have to click on some of these things because I don't. It's
Over the top.
No, hold on. Here we go. Commission plan.
Yes.
I believe this is it.
Thank you.
Do you want, just let me know how you want me to navigate around here for you?
I think that's that'll work. You can push it up a little bit more in case with some other, there's a little bit on the bottom that I'd like to see.
Okay, and I can zoom in
That's
as
good.
well?
Sure.
Okay.
But for now, for who wasn't there, I think initially we looked at this area, which we did the newest state BVW data forms. Mr. Phaneuf did submit a report to the commission on my findings. I just received it. I have not reviewed it. And then there was this area back here that Mr. Phaneuf, as we walked further back, there was, I believe Mr. Phaneuf did say, and he can, obviously he's online, but there was an isolated hole, but you do have jurisdiction, as he was stating, of isolated vegetated wetlands. We won't contend that. But there was a ridge that separated it so it wasn't directly coming into that hole. So let's say this is the ridge, that's the hole. We are going to still delineate that hole and do some more soil investigations on the ridge, which was hay-scented fir, northern red oak. Dominated the whole herbaceous layer was hay-scented fir, in fact, up. And then there was that large white pine, some northern red oak, some black birch, but we stood there, and I'm not going to say what Mr. Phaneuf directly said, I'll paraphrase, but I believe he was saying that did appear to be, well, I'm not speaking for him. I believe he said that it was an upland ridge, and that if it went to, say, DEP or the court, I think he might have said, that he would, I believe, would have conceded that. So we are going to delineate this by vegetation and show that hole. So that becomes that. Then there was an area in the back that he said wouldn't affect us. It was somewhere down in here. It's a D series where there was 2 flags that cut across one of his workers or himself, where he says, this is the gravel pit. Down below, this is all the vernal pools. This is the former gravel pit. There's the 35-foot deep cut in that hydrologic soil group A. That's why these steep grades are in here. It drops down, and this is the old pit. We gave you exhibits on that. So anyways, this thing was, he added 1 or 2 flags instead of what he described, and we didn't go down there, where my flag cut across, and he could have put 2 more flags to include some little point that was down, some point, I'm not using subjective words, some point of wetland that he says I left off. But it was on this side of the wetland. It wouldn't affect this line or the buffers or the vernal pools 200 feet, because we're outside of it. They run up through here. So, and then in I know I call it the long agenda, we did read that, what do you call it again?
Detailed.
The what?
Detailed.
Detailed. Well, it gives you more information. So we did read that today, and so there was some talk about Perk and Deep from Opakam potentially, and we would like to get with you and actually with Opakam, because we know that you have the clause in the regulation, in the wetland regulation 310 that can ask you, did we pursue all permits obtainable at the time? And so Perk and Deep could be deemed that you should get it, it's obtainable. So we're going to work to get the Perk and Deep done before we can close this. It's either Opakam or potentially these 2 houses. We were going to approach those people, but the meeting with the commission at the time at the site sounded positive that we might be able to work it out. There is a cart road going off Opakam's into our property.
Well, right, town property, yeah. It's town property that goes on, there's our parking lot's down there, and we have a trail, and then there's a cart road that comes off that onto Hamilton Rod and Gun. Opakam's the CR holder on our property. But we did say, try to keep exploring all options to try to get access out there.
But there's also a woodland cart road that you're maybe not familiar with, that comes right to before you come to the gate. There's actually a cart path without any trees in it that you could come off as you're going down towards the gate. It's maybe 100 feet before it, that you could go, it goes right into this property. So potentially, that's why I wanted to have a site inspection to show.
I wasn't aware of that. I thought we were just talking about
I
Hamilton
did find it, so we're going to work on that also.
I did reach out. I emailed Opakam Land Trust after our site walk last week. I just haven't heard back from them yet on that. I mean, the CR does say that, parking use, et cetera, of motorized vehicles is prohibited, except if we were doing something out there. So I did want to ask them their thoughts on that, because it's essentially, it's just to gain access onto another property that they need access for. So there might be some discretion with that. I mean, it's up to the commission as
Thank you.
well, but.
Right. We're in discussions with them out of Southbridge
When
also.
you look at it, Glenn, would it require any tree cutting?
No, none, not even sapling. It's a cart road. There's actually a cart road leading off that to get in there.
Two-way you would need to do the perk?
Right to it. It goes right into our property. So it comes in through a cart road. There's a little slope, a very shallow slope off of that road that's in there, and then there's a slight slope. And if you get to the top of the slope, there's the cart road going in.
And you're sure that's not the one onto Hamilton Rod and Gun?
No,
Okay.
it's not that far
Okay,
down.
we didn't talk
This is-
about
this-
that before, so, all right.
I'm going to sketch it on a plan and get it over, and I have a number now for Opakam because of the Southbridge meeting I had last week and some saplings we're going to give to them. So I maybe have a direct contact too.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, that's another story. So there is still, it is a single-family house. It is for the son-in-law lived right up the street. This has been there, and they're trying to just get into that. And there's also something about accessing the hill instead of that large causeway. So if you pull this up a little bit, thank you. That does cut over, and yes, and there is a fill, and Brandon did call it something like an esker because it's a raised up, like a glacial esker because it comes straight up and didn't have that top ridge. So yes, it minimized our encroachment outward. We had originally told Jay Dubois to see if we could switch back it, and I have a picture of one I just did on Stiles Reservoir where we switch back and slowly climb down the slope and then cut over, and then you don't have such a high ridge. You come down closer to that elevation, then you just cross over. And there's an example of that on Parker Street in Leicester that we did. But we'll present that. So I will be asking, obviously, for a continuance after we hear from Brandon and after we hear from the commission at your convenience, please. Thank you.
All right.
All right, so we do have Brandon on here. Brandon, do you want to go over your findings for the board?
Yeah, good evening. Brandon Fanner for the Ecosystem Solutions. Thanks for allowing me to attend remotely. Yeah, sure, I can go over my findings. So since we met last, I've read the letter from EBT dated September 26th, and I attended the September 27 on-site meeting. Yeah, regarding the wetland line, there are three areas that I had comments about. The one way in the back, the D series, which is actually off-site. The change is very minor, and even with the change, it's not going to cause any change to any design. Like the buffer zone still wouldn't come up into the area where they're working. So I think we can probably dismiss that one, but it's there. The second one is the little isolated area, that little pothole in the middle that Ms. Gravoski said he was going to flag. So I think that's a good step forward. And then the third area, which I think is the most contentious area, is that little swale, the little saddle near the road at the bottom of the slope coming off the road. And Mr. Kravoski wrote this is September 26th letter explaining why he doesn't think it's a wetland. And after my site visit and reading his letter, I still disagree. And I'll try to quickly go over my reasons why. So one of the things that EBT talks about is how this site has been drained in the past. He points out in his letter that there are ditches in the wetland, the large wetland on the south side, as an example of how the area was drained. But I think that EBT's assertions are more speculation than actual fact. You know, for example, those ditches, they may have stopped functioning decades ago if that was their actual purpose. We have no definitive proof that the 35 cut on the Gravels pit's eastern flank is what caused the draining of the land to the east, as stated in the EBT letter. EBT also points out that that the observed water table in the test hole we observed on September 27th as being some 30 inches below the soil surface is proof during a rainy year that the water table stays low. And my opinion is that one cannot underestimate the power of evapotranspiration from large trees and other vegetation during the growing season. Now, if the water table was still 30 inches below the soil surface in March and April, I might think differently about it. That said, I can't discount EVT's vegetation analysis. However, I believe that they placed their plot point in that narrow wetland at a very advantageous location for their purposes. If one moves in 20 feet in either direction along that swale, the vegetation becomes much more hydrophytic. I also believe that that black birch that we found right at the low point in the swale that had the shallow root system is indicative of a high water table. So when I was performing my own analysis next to EVT's hole on the 27th, I found proof of at least 8 inches of fill material on top of the native soil. And as I moved north and south along the swale, I found that the fill material got deeper and that underneath the fill were organic wetland soils. So with that, I believe that the proper application of delineation per 310 CMR 10 is to use what we call the disturbed sites criteria, which is found at 310 CMR 10.55 2C3. And I write down what those criteria are in my report. I won't bore you with it, but it gives a quote unquote competent person, which I hope that the commission determines that I am, the ability with credible evidence that an area supported or would support under undisturbed conditions a predominance of wetland indicator plants prior to the disturbance. So I want to go on the record right now and say that I believe that under undisturbed conditions, that area flags SCC 1 through 5 and SCC 101 through 105 would have supported a predominance of wetland indicator plants prior to disturbance. And there were a lot of little white pines in that area. And they're facultative upland, so they're considered upland plants, which is one of the things that put EBT's vegetation analysis on the side of there being more upland plants than wetland plants. But I think that as they continue to grow and their root systems get deeper, they're either going to do one or two things. They're going to either die off because it's too wet, or they too will also develop shallow root systems because of the wetness. And I included a figure. I've never used the GoTo meeting, so I don't know if you can share through GoTo, but I downloaded a historic aerial photograph from 1967. It's a geo-referenced, I don't know if you have it, Rebecca, but in it, I have the outline, there we go. I have the outline of the project, right? So this photograph's from 1967. EBT claims that the wetlands near the driveway were not disturbed as part of the gravel mining operation, but I think that this photo may suggest otherwise. I see open areas throughout the site, majority of the site, including where the wetland is located. And the fill material in those test holes that I dug in on September 27th had to have come from somewhere. This definitely suggests that that could be the reason. Even if EBT's theory about the drained wetland system is correct, I think it's more likely than not that we went from a soaking wet system to a regular wet system. Either way, it's still a wetland system. So I would recommend to the commission to accept the SCC series flags that I put along that fairly narrow but present wetland system connecting the isolated wetland on the north side to the south side, which would make the wetland system on the north side a bordering vegetated wetland. So the only difference this really makes in the project is that now they have a small wetland crossing to do in order to get from point A to point B. And one way to minimize impacts with that is to put in a box culvert over the BVW, so you're not actually filling it in because it's not that wide. So if you're not filling it in, you don't necessarily have to replicate because you're not technically filling in under the freshwater standards. So I just want, at the same time, with the addition of that isolated wetland, there's going to be closer impact to the wetland, you know, regarding no-touch zones. And basically my recommendations stay the same from last time. They're in my first letter. I copied and pasted them right into my second letter. So my recommendations stay the same. And if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer.
Could I, when you're ready, I'm not going to rebut this because I just heard it, but I do want to say one statement before I write my own report back to this.
Anybody in the commission like to say anything?
I'm just curious about I think it was the last bullet point in the letter referencing how the properties were subdivided back in 2007, and had it been done differently, that we wouldn't have a hardship. Could I get some color around that?
The color might be the color would be that we do review your bylaw, and if you bought a property that you then had to cross a wetland, but this is what I will bring up in my next report, that disturbed wetlands, as Mr. Brandon was talking about, we're talking about recently disturbed wetlands, not before the Wetland Protection Act happened, not something that was filled in 40 years ago or 50 years ago, not something that is now growing herbaceous and woody layers, but disturbed meaning recently plowed, bulldozed within the last 10 years, where native plants haven't had an opportunity, especially not just herbaceous plants, but woody plants had an opportunity to establish. We showed that this is witch hazel, black birch, white pine, hay-scented fern, Canada mayflower as dominant, along with other non-dominant, which would be high bush blackberry in this area. I have extensive college education in hydrology. We have extensive, my first paper on hydrology was written in '86. When you have a 2-minute perk rate gravel directly below you, underneath you, Merrimack soil is 2-minute perk rate bone gravel. It's called excessively well drained. And then at the bottom of the hill, you have groundwater discharging out. It has drained this wetland, and I wasn't claiming that the channels that the farmer built is what's draining this. There was channels that the farmer originally built under the agricultural era, then there was a pond there, and then the pond was removed at some time, at the same time that the gravel pit was created, that drained this. The whole wetland system, that red maple swamp, is now being encroached by white ash, black birch, and the last thing I'll say about the black birch, that one seedling black birch, we took that and took it out of the equation when we wrote this, because I knew that somebody had taken the leaves off of the surface. So I says, what will my data form look like under this new state 23 data form? And we were still over 3, and on 3 is where it becomes upland or wetland. So we were over 3. We'll bring all this up in our report, but we see, and even the vernal pool that was no longer there, when you have gravel and you take a plug off of the water draining, which is what the gravel pit did, it drained this area. So we see us not crossing the wetland. And lastly, on the box culvert issue, as we know from Six Picker Road, from DEP, if you cross over a wetland with a box culvert, as we did at Six Picker,
Right.
You still have to replicate the wetlands. We don't mind replicating wetlands, but let's be clear on who knows what the regulation totally is. I know you have a peer reviewer, I respect totally, but we will bring back our own report to counter this report.
So that,
Did you get
I
your
have one
answer?
follow-up to that, not a follow-up, a second question, actually. So the disturbance and the cover of the disturbance is anywhere between, I think I read 8 to 30 inches, right? So Brandon, is that going to replicate itself back into a wetland, and will that overtake over time if just left to its own devices? I'm just curious as to, like,
If you don't replicate it?
No, if you just leave it as is. Is the only way to bring that back to a wetland to actually replicate it, since the disturbance has already been done?
Well, I think the disturbance has been, material falling on top of actually organic soils. I didn't find any Merrimack sandy soils. I went down and the soils were organic soils. Maybe way, way down, many feet down, it turns into sand, but near the surface, it's organic soil. But I'm trying to understand the question. So if you replicate it,
curious, if we're talking about anywhere between, 8 inches and 2.5 feet of disturbance material that's on top, that's what I heard. Maybe I heard this wrong. I don't think anybody is asking for that to be taken out and replicated in its historical. I'm just curious if just left, right? Say nothing happens on this property for 10 years, 15 years, 50 years. Does that turn back? Is it overtaken by the wetland at that point? And is it
get filled enough? Yeah. Well, I still think that it's a functioning wetland. I think that the location of the vegetation analysis was very well cherry-picked. I mean, you go 20 feet other direction, the vegetation changes to being wetland dominant. And we got this disturbed situation. So I think that Mr. Kravosky overly complicates the situation here.
Carson? No.
So I have the number of questions, having seen the site visit. So I just want to know where you guys agree and where you don't agree. So the part we are talking about is just the part where the road will go over. And so my question is, do you agree that the gravel or the fill-in comes from the gravel pit and the function of 1967? Do you agree with his explanation of why there's the sand on the ground? Or how did that happen?
Under the wetland regulation, if it happened 50 years ago, let's just round it up, it would make no difference as to how long, it does make a difference on how long ago it happened, because then maybe it was a violation if it was today or if it was recent, but it was so long ago, it's now growing upland plants, so it's an upland by virtue of the time period
You
it's
could
had.
agree with his theory that might have caused the sand to come in there. And
I won't disagree on how sands or gravels might have got there, it's when they got there.
Right, exactly.
Well, in the drain nature of the area, growing the predominance, and I will go, and I will do data plots, both 20 feet in either direction, that was not cherry-picked. We will do data plots 20 feet in either direction of my plot.
Okay, so you agree on that, and it's a long time ago, and it probably can be grandfathered in. Second one is, but you claim that it's not wetland, and on the left side it's wetland, on the right side it's wetland, but just where you want to build the road is somehow not wetland. Now, if reality always agrees with my wishes like that would be great. But short of divine intervention, why is it just that this part of the wetland is supposed, so it's just that this part drained, according to your theory?
No, vegetation. Vegetation, you have to have soils, hydrology, and vegetation to make a wetland at the federal level or the state level. The soil is relic hydric soils, it's drained, it's still organic, dominated by organic material because it's historic. But the plant species, as we described it, and we will do the additional data plots, is dominated by upland plants, so you don't have the species. And it wasn't just done 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but historically. So the plants have had time to adapt to a drier nature. And one last point about the buttress root systems on that one sapling black birch. When you have a black organic soil, very tight soil, your root systems are going to stay near the surface, period, because that soil is like plastic or it doesn't breathe well. And when you don't breathe well, your root systems want oxygen on your upland plants. They're going to stay near the surface because they're breathing better closer to the surface. This is when you hold the soil, it is organic because it was formed underwater or in a wetland. But after it's drained, the plant species dominate, witch hazel, mountain laurel, and I already brought all the other ones up.
But just this, it was wetland before the...
The other two areas, what I didn't explain is, the other two areas, that wetland to the right and the wetland to the left, they're dominated by wetland plants. But it isn't being invaded by upland.
But at one point, it was all wetland.
Yes, I agree.
But just this part drained according to your theory, and the other one didn't.
It drains sufficiently to grow upland plants.
Okay.
It's a saddle. It's slightly higher. The other two ends are sedges and rushes and red maples. This, again, I just mentioned uplands plants. Back up means dominated by upland. It's witch hazel, mountain laurel, black birch, and white pine, and hay-scented fern, and the Canada mayflower. Those were the dominant plants. It was and there wasn't any red maples in there. No red maples. There was a winterberry, 2 winterberries, and a serviceberry. They're listed in the data form, but they weren't dominant. So if those plants, those wetland plants, those fact wet were dominant, which they weren't, then we would have a different data form. Cherry pick it, I'll cherry pick 20 feet away and 20 feet on the other side, and we'll see how the data forms form.
So the other question I thought was for Brendan, and that was, so according to your theory, it's disturbed wetland. My question is it still has the significance that it has according to the bylaws, even despite its disturbance? That is, it serves, so to speak, maintaining the water quality, et cetera, because it seems to me you were a little, I mean, if it turns out that the water level is as low in March, you would say it's not wetland anymore. Do I understand you correct? Because I was actually surprised how dry that area was after all this rain. So can you, so it's in all likelihood disturbed, but does it still have the significance that we need to care about in terms of, does that make sense, the question?
He's asking.
Yes, it does, and I agree. If it's a wetland, it is serving the same public interests as the larger, red maple swamp to the south. It's all
Even
part of the
it's-
same system, and it's still serving the public interests.
And so,
Yeah.
if it turns out that the water level is as low in March as it is now, then it's not wetland according to your...
Well, this would be just 1 year, right? So 1 year it could be a dry year. You never know if it's a quote-unquote normal year and you're having normal precipitation and it was still that the water level was still, around 2.5 feet down. Yeah, I would think differently about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, would you be willing to build this culvert and be just...
Willing to do what? I'm sorry?
This
Build a
pipe,
culvert.
the culvert, would you be willing to build that? And
I think the client would be willing to build the culvert. I mean, that's not the main issue is it a wetland or not a wetland to me? Because this is all I do. And we don't cherry pick anything and we don't falsify anything. But I'm not saying anybody's telling me that I did that, but we'll do the other data forms. But in order to move forward, we most likely would put the box culvert in because we do box culverts. I mean, it's not like, in fact, when the drainage area contributing, normally with a box culvert, you have a bank. There's no bank there. You have to, when you have a box, just like we had on Six Picker as an example, which you weren't there, you have it's called a definite channel. So then you have the scour path, and you come up out of it. You have a bank and a bank. And then you have bank full conditions. So this is how you determine the openness ratio for a box culvert, is you have a bank, and say if it's 2 feet or 10 feet, then there's a 90% openness ratio. That then drives how the culvert looks under the stream crossing standards, which came in under U.S. Army Corps. Here, we don't have even a bank. We could put a culvert in, but it wouldn't be designed according to stream crossing standards because there's no defined channel.
Yeah, and maybe that wouldn't absolutely be necessary. The intent of the culvert here, I think, would be to
Bridge.
go over what's there for resource area, so maybe you won't have to meet those standards, which would be okay in this situation. I think why he's asking is if you know, if you, up to you and the applicant how you want to move forward, but if the commission sees this as wetland, and they'd be willing to allow some type of crossing structure over it, that might be an avenue to move forward with the project. I think that's probably why he's asking that question.
Yes, I understand.
And that satisfies the ability to get the driveway in and protect what they would, because ultimately, they're gonna take both of your information and take that and make a decision if they see that as wetland or not. That might be a way of getting their approval on getting that crossing in.
Yes.
So, that's why.
Roy, anything? Carson, you done? I guess Mike.
One last thing.
Oh, Brendan wants to say one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Brendan. What?
Yeah, I'll be quick. You know, Mr. Gravosky says he can do 2 more plots, but I think it's all a moot point. It's an overcomplication of the situation. He's talking about upland plants, right? But upland plants can become wetland plants if they show what's called hydromorphic adaptations to wetness. And one of those things is shallow root system, right? We have a lot of tiny little white pines that could be, tipping the scale. I think as they get older, they're also going to show hydromorphic adaptations if they don't die off right away. So, just doing an analysis of the vegetation, I don't think gives you the whole story. There's a qualitative analysis to be done as well, in addition to the quantitative analysis. And, one of the things we saw, to tell you how vegetation can be fickle, on the other side of the swale going up towards the house, there was a whole area that was filled with cinnamon fern, which is a wetland plant. Yet the soils, they were upland soils. So there's a qualitative analysis to be done as well, and I believe that swale is a wetland. And whether you allow it or not is up to you, but a culvert that tries to preserve the integrity of that area while continuing to allow flow through of water from one side to the other could definitely be a mitigative factor to allow it going forward. So I'll end it there.
This is only 1/2 a minute. In the regulation, both core and in local, state, it talks about trees with buttressed or adventitious root systems or shallow roots. There is absolutely, and I've been at UNH for 8 years, there's nothing that talks about, in the language, about saplings or bushes with shallow roots. That's it. So, and it doesn't talk about if it turns into a shallow root in 20 years. And it doesn't talk about at all in this regulation. It says what's there now, and again, those shallow roots are trees. And we'll bring forward all that language too.
You took 35.
My one question.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. My one question was, you mentioned, we looked at the saddle and the soils were wetland soils.
Yes, sir.
And what did you call them, antique wetland soils?
No, relic. They're called in the language relic hydric soils. It means drained, and that they're still showing hydric soil characteristics because it takes hundreds of years even to get low chroma soils in the B horizon to start gaining. I don't even think Veneman out of UMass, if he's still around, or Procroft out of UNH, nobody's nailed down how long it takes for a gray or white B horizon that's been drained to start gaining iron back, because all that iron is Fe+3 attached to quartz molecules, and that's what turns your B horizon reds and browns instead of being grays and whites. Grays and whites are there because the iron has been reduced and carried away from Fe+2, which is a soluble iron. It gets carried away in the soil, and that's why wetland soils in the B horizon are grays and whites. And soils in the upland that aren't saturated with water are generally reds and yellows. And that's really generally on the difference of the two colors from upland B horizon soils and wetland. It's all about the iron being either reduced or adhered to, or which is called Fe3. And so the Fe3 is what's on the iron, on the sand particle. And it goes into low oxygen, and it goes into microbes too, but there's where the soil's changing. So very basic. And lastly, even topsoil. A topsoil in a wetland is normally black because it's lost all its iron. So you're seeing carbon or coal. A topsoil in an upland is more chestnut colored because the sand particles in the organic, you have iron in there, and that gives you that chestnut color, the lighter color. So that's why most wetland soils are black. And so, yes, I'm agreeing that these were wetland soils. I say it in my report, but relic meaning they're drained, and that's why there's upland, dominated by upland plants. But I'll put it in a report. I thank you for giving me time to talk.
Yeah. All right, so just kind of summarize what we talked about here. So one, there's an additional cart road that you're saying is on the Plimpton Conservation property. You're going to get me a location. You're going to send something.
Yes, ma'am.
And we'll move forward with that request towards OPACUM. I already have that email out there. I can update it that there's this other area. I would still recommend looking at the other options with the other houses to get back there.
Yes,
as the option to get that perk test done.
Okay.
Two, we talked about the two other plan changes to the wetland line that was agreed upon. Those will get changed on the plan at some point. So we've settled that. And then the last thing I think is how you plan to move forward to address the comments. It sounds like you're gonna put something together to send back to the commission to help them evaluate that. If that's how you plan to move forward. The other option that was discussed is if, you guys decide that you want to call it wetland or not and put a culvert there or not. So we want to continue to the next meeting.
Please.
And then you're planning on submitting something that they can evaluate at.
All right, motion.
Within a week.
Okay.
Hold me to that.
I know.
Motion to
Sooner you
approve
can
a
get the
continuation?
Yes, I'd like to
Location of
make a
that cart
motion
road.
to continue the public hearing until October 26th.
Thank you for your time. Thank all of you.
All in favor?
Get a second.
I'll second that.
Second.
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Edwin Glass in favor?
Roy Bishop in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor?
Ed Goodwin in favor.
Thank you for that.
All right. Becky, we in that? Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Brian.
Have a good night.
Thank you very much for your time.
Becky, we're at 5.
All right, we are at 7:05, which is National Grid right-of-way, line 301. This was a continued notice of intent. They've asked for a written request for continuation. We did authorize, I was able to authorize a week ago for peer review to start, so they will be scheduling a date for that. And also a little more review and looking into some of those beaver dam things as winter is approaching here. So we should have something hopefully for our next meeting for discussion. Continuation request is till October 26th.
All right, now that's, did you say 3:05?
If it was submitted in writing, do we still need to make a motion to continue it, Becky?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
Make a motion to continue the public hearing for DEP file number 300-1173 until the 26th of October.
Okay.
I second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Edwin Glass in favor?
Roy Bishop in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor?
Ed Goodwin in favor. Now,
Okay. Oh, let me,
what? Where are we going now?
yeah.
Another continuation.
Oh, yeah, that's where I was. 595 Main Street and Route 20, notice of intent, Mass DOT drainage project, 300-1175.
All right, same thing, we received a written request for continuation to October 26th meeting. I don't know if you remember that DEP had some comments, they're working to address those, and they still need the property owner signature for that one.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion to continue DEP file number 300-1175 until October 26th.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Ted Winglass, in favor?
Roy Bishop in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor. Where to now, Beck? Do you wanna
Number
go?
10,
We're back to 446 Main Street.
Yep.
Really, half of it done.
so this is the second certificate of compliance, 300-1161. This was to complete that project, they had to remove concrete pad out there. They also included the beaver management plan. As I was saying earlier, that area was evaluated and flow devices won't work in that area. The ones they had failed out there. What was recommended by Beaver Solutions was to keep up with trapping and continually breaching the dams out there. That was all that was really the best solution. So they do have a O&M plan that includes that maintenance plan or management monitoring. They have monitoring requirements out there too, with reporting requirements to the commission. So that would be a perpetual condition. Number 10. Yeah, the perpetual conditions for that would be 36 through 40.
Is there a,
Yep.
is there like a number of beavers they try to get per year out of there?
Well, it all depends. So when the kids get kicked out, the kids get kicked out, they move into new areas, and we have a lot of beavers upstream and downstream. I forget how, I think it was about 6 they took out of there last year, if I remember correctly. But they just got to keep.
No, I mean, I know they multiply, and
Yeah.
they don't go far, and then they all build their own little pond.
Yep.
I was just
Yeah.
wondering if there's a target number that they shoot for, so to speak.
I don't think so. I think that varies
Control
where
the
you are.
population by keeping thinning them out. Yeah, okay.
I'd like to make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 300-1161 with the perpetual conditions of 36 through 40.
Second?
I second that.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Ted Winglass in favor.
Roy Bishop in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor. 168 Lane 10? All right, huh? Lane 7, I'm sorry. Request for a certificate of compliance, DEP file number 300-1004.
All right, so this is a project, it included removal of 18 trees, and then some hardscaping improvements, some walkways down to South Pond. The applicant did the tree removal portion of it, and there's an existing single-family house there that they've been renovating. They've decided that they actually want to raise and rebuild that. They didn't do any of the hardscaping, so they're closing out this OOC because they just filed a new one, which will include that hardscaping work and the raise and rebuild of the house. So this would be, and I did do a site visit out there on Monday, which I hadn't done prior to writing this. So there were no perpetual conditions noted in there. So this would be a complete certificate of compliance, and then we would just write underneath that what work was completed and what work was not completed to be put on record. And we will, go ahead.
No, I was just curious. So we permitted tree removal and other things. Were there any replacements for?
No, there was no replacements.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems odd.
So you'll see this site on the 18th. A lot of the trees that were removed were, most of them in the outer part of the buffer zone. Some were closer, between 50 and 100 feet, but most were in the outer part of that. There's a good vegetated shoreline.
Yeah, it's very naturalized shoreline.
I'd like to make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 300-1004.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Ted Winglass in favor.
Roy Bishop in favor.
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor. All right, now we go to administrative decisions. Minutes for 9/14/23 for approval.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of September 14th, 2023.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Ed Winglass in favor.
Roy Bishop in favor.
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor. Anything for, where do we go? You want to go to 110 Brookfield Road?
I don't know if he's coming back for 392 Main Street here.
What?
No.
Let's go to
We'll do yours next.
14.
Sit back
Yeah.
down.
I'm sorry, Commissioner.
We've been waiting here for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
the clients,
392 Main Street?
The Main Street.
Yep.
You have, if I could, through the chairman, I thank you, you have, Mr. Joe Levesque has been, promised me those 20 saplings, and we did count the number of stumps. We do have the saplings available now. He has agreed to buy the saplings to replace the ones he cut. And Aaron had said 20. We're looking at what is, because that's why I had all the stumps located on the plan. So we know what we've lost. We're going to diversify and plant those back. We are, I think some people think that this is because they never dealt with the law. He didn't understand. Every time I tell him to do something, it means do it. So he has to go to the town manager and get an agreement. We're working to get some, instead of 6.5 feet behind the building, just get some buffer so we can maintain the building.
Well,
and
let me,
then the rest of it's going to be all planted back.
These guys that haven't been out there or haven't been, the last time we were out there, let me just go back a little bit. So if you're familiar with this, is 392 Main Street. They did some cutting back there. Come to find out that first part was he wanted to do a survey. We found an old survey that he didn't agree with where the property lines were. So they had Joe Levesque go out there. He came up with the survey plan, and Glenn's done some restoration plans on here.
Mm-hmm.
So his property line is right here.
Right.
All right, and he wants, see this purplish pink line? He wants to ask the town for an easement here, so that way he can get back and, maintain his building, et cetera, or whatever. So they're not showing like any restoration in this area.
Right.
So the rest of the restoration is actually on town property. Briefly spoken to town administrator about it. We'll just have them sign off on the restoration plantings out here, and they'll just have to give us some information for our insurance, whatnot, to be out there doing the work. So not an issue to get that work done. So we went out, we did another site visit. This is, now I'm losing track of these plans here. Is this the one you submitted after?
Can I interject as you're going along without talking over you?
now.
Mr. Levesque is, and he's promised me for a week and a half to two, to get these notes on the plan, the species numbers, what notes are not valid. We believe that this, along with the 20, the last thing I gave him was the number of saplings to be planted, and we wouldn't cluster them like this. We would space them out. And when I'm talking saplings, these are 2.5 and 3-inch caliper and diversified of red maple and northern red oak. And I was on a site today where we just brought 4 of them in. They're very, well, they're in good shape. They're Arello Corp's former nursery's saplings. So we would diversify them throughout this area, and then there was a planting of shrubs back there. There's going to be, I think, some permanent markers that probably will be called for, potentially, bollards or something that he can no longer drive in here. He has to move his dumpsters. When we got there that day, he had a truck. We had left a blank case. We got here, and it was a truck with a tractor in the back of a trailer in here because he had no place to park it. I was only kidding with him, Ed. I wasn't trying to make him like upset at the commission, but I was upset. What are you doing?
So, right.
So he moved it out real quick.
A reminder that this is not area to be using, needs to be out there, and that should be put on the next plan that comes in.
You tell us what you want for signage here, and we're going to make sure that this is no longer accessed. It's his problem, he doesn't have the area, but we would like to give him a little bit, because this was all grown in with Oriental bittersweet right up the side of the building. It was rotted, too. He just bought this place. He rebuilt the back of it, he painted it, he did the front. He did a good job in cleaning it up.
I guess that I would recommend that some type of permanent monumentation is agreed that it would be at the property line, and if he does get an easement with the town, which we don't know that he will, or when that will happen, maybe at that time, it could be decided that the signs could get moved to the edge of that easement area, if that's what's decided upon. That might be a way to deal with that, in order to get something up here. An easement, I mean, I don't know fully the process to go to town for an easement, but that could take some time, depending on the type of
Could be a town
approvals.
meeting
Right.
all the way to that.
Potentially a town meeting vote, so, yeah.
How many feet
Is he asking for it?
Oh, it's 7. The total would be 15. We did talk about 12. This line could be reduced by 3 feet, and we did, that was the one before we got to the site inspection. So we would like a total of at least 12 feet to just work on the back of the building instead of the, I think it's 6.5 he has there.
So would it be an easier solution to ask for the monuments to be placed at where the easements are going to be requested for, since we're going to allow access?
Correct.
If we're allowing him to ask for an easement, and then,
We would, but
right, but
I don't know that we can say, we could require or ask him or even allow him to put them on town property.
If I could, through the chairman.
well, they have to, my point is, they have to go on town property to put in the restoration. So as, they need approval to do that, right? Can they ask for approval? We're not talking
That's
about
right.
putting a structure, we're talking about putting bollards or something
Yeah.
that will stop access. So
Well, that's up
if
to
the
you
town had
guys.
an issue with that, well, then maybe we,
Yeah.
but if they're not, if they're not gonna have an issue with that, and then even if the town doesn't allow the easement at town meeting, there's no harm there, it's just, he can't get back there, he can't use that land.
Yeah,
But we've
I guess I just
protected the
don't
wet-
know what type of approval would be needed to put signs out there too, if it's
Well,
as simple as the plant approval.
Eric has a good point. You're gonna need to have somebody that's not the Conservation Commission just to do the work. So if we're asking if we can put trees, we should just ask on
To
their
put the
behalf if they
signs
can
or
also put the
bollards.
permanent markers. And move all the dumpsters and trash to off of the property.
That has to be, I would think Jersey barrier or something. I might look ugly or something different, or even a fence.
Big rocks.
Maybe
Big rocks, stones, you got plenty of rocks and stuff.
anything to just, there's no more access back there after this is all done, period. I mean, because that's
Well,
been
there is-
going
there's
on
an
for
easement.
years.
And if we're giving him an easement, you can be assured that you're going to, he has not shown any ability to learn about wetlands so far.
I'm teaching
You
them.
know, and, I mean, the fact that he had a truck on a trailer, dump truck on a trailer, backed with a tractor, bucket, backhoe
Not
on
a
it.
good look.
What?
Not a good look.
No, it's a great, you know, backed right into the wetland.
Well, I think big rocks, size of this table.
Well, it was a dry wetland at the time, so he wasn't sinking in. I think he might have still been in the upland, but he's still.
Town, whether they give him an easement or not, that's not our,
What?
it's up to the town, you know,
Yeah.
whether we get the easement or not.
We would just mow it.
Access.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know,
Fire department doesn't need to get in there, nobody does, so, really, right?
and no one would, you know, if the place wasn't a mess, nobody would bother him if he went back there anyway.
No.
Does an easement mean he's gonna be able to put all of his rendering stuff back there
No,
and,
you obviously could put restrictions on the
There has to
easement.
be,
It's
you
just
It's a walking. It would be a.
you don't wanna, right, your paint cans and stuff be back there, Ed. You know, I
Right.
understand what you're saying.
What I would propose is that if he mowed, that there would just be a grassed area that he can access and keep it dry instead of everything up against the building. So he has some doors back there. It's just for access, period. Walking access, keep it mowed. That's gonna be my, in fact, I'll put that
Usually in
on.
the easement, it's responsibility of the easement holder to make, the grant the person receiving it to maintain it.
Right.
Yeah.
That can be in the language of the
There's such
easement.
a shortage of parking.
But
If let go, they would,
That's what I'm saying.
they'll be
Block that
parking their
off
cars
somehow.
back there. The people that work there, I guarantee you.
I mean, there were mattresses back there too.
People find places
Might
to
be
dump
more if we
anything.
keep-
And they didn't come
yeah,
from this
keep our
site.
mouth shut.
Is it town property actually where
It's the
the land
wetlands.
hits the parking lot?
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
And the ball
It's-
fields.
Maybe
They're
he
here.
could put some barrier there so that they can't
That's what,
park.
yeah.
so
That's what we've
we
been
just
talking
have barriers here, is that what you're saying, right, where the asphalt meets
Yeah.
Yeah,
the town property?
so then they can't park.
Yeah, that solves that.
Yeah, but if we could do something a little bit prettier, and Jersey barriers like big boulders, they're
Or
natural.
a nice
That's
rock
what I
or
would encourage.
A naturalized boulder that weighs as much as a Jersey barrier, how about that?
Yeah, looks better.
Yeah, I agree, a Jersey barrier is not the best looking.
So you're looking for a continuation here?
I am. Could I need to, if I could, just defend them for 20 seconds. He did cut this area. I have to just say that he did think he had permission to work back there. We have to say that, but he went
I have said that
overboard.
before, he asked about over here.
But he went
He asked
overboard.
about overhanging limbs over
Yeah.
his roof. He didn't say anything about back
And he was
here.
gonna clean it up, and he didn't, I guess he never knew his limit.
line.
His property, or his limit, or where his wetland, that's all I want to say. So there was a little bit of permission, and he went way overboard. But that, so it wasn't just like he went back there. So that's all I want to say about that. We're here to restore it. We're here to do everything the commission wants. It's a headwater wetland system. It's pretty dry, but we do have a little hole up above at the ball field. And the ball field is right behind us. So the town will never use this because dang, these things are dying.
Yeah, ball field,
We'll
no.
never use it.
Because it's such a small area, this wetland goes in, then there's a slope dropping off, and then you have a chain link fence, and the ball fields are up here for the town. This is a very narrow piece of land that never seems like it's gonna be used for access for anything. That's all I might say about it. It's kind of like by itself on the town, okay.
So we'll get a final plan from Levesque, and you'll include something in this area, we're talking about just blocking us here.
Yes,
So that way, they can't go back there to park.
blocking it, mowing, the easement issue, the trees on the plan, those notes all incorporated on the plan?
Yep.
Okay.
And when you come back, right, when they can get the planting done and all that good stuff, because, right, we're going on,
We could still plant all the way, we were talking New England wetland plants, they're my clients also. We could plant right up until the second week of November.
Right.
I know
And then
we're
you'd
running
also
slow,
remove
but
the wood
let's
chip
get this
pile,
done. All right,
too.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you on that.
Yep.
sounds good.
Was there anything else?
No.
The Empire Village?
All set, we did them.
We did it, all
You're
right.
good.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.
All right, and number 15, they're not coming in tonight. Trails, they're still working on some stuff. Go back to number 13, we had 110 Brookfield Road, we had the enforcement order. What was agreed upon was to have that work done by October 1st. I did follow up with him. At the end of last week, I was told that the majority of the work was done. The only thing left they had to do was the, putting in some of the, so Friday, September 29th, he said we have made significant progress with the property. All the grindings have pulled into the designated area and off of the hill approaching town property, and the Jersey barriers have been set in place and the containers flipped around as requested. We only need to set the granite posts in place along the property line to prevent snow push. And then he also just needs to have, we corresponded a little bit here, he also needs to have Joe Levesque do that plan. So he said that I could stop by, we corresponded a little bit, and I asked, I said, you know, because the set date had been made, that we would just need to give an extension to finish addressing that order.
Okay.
All right.
Did he give an estimated?
No, I asked,
Push that to November.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long it's gonna take to get the plan, but it sounds like, the rest of that work was gonna be wrapped up probably this week. So I don't.
30 days?
30 days, yeah, maybe give them 30 days, and then at least we can have the site wrapped up and hopefully some progress made, or we have
What's the first meeting in, or the only meeting in November?
The 16th.
16th.
I'm gonna give them till then.
Okay. If you'd like to.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
Well, does that wouldn't give you time to get out there, put eyes on it, validate before you come back?
I can make sure I do that before then. I think that the rest of the site work was gonna be wrapped up this week, he had said, so it's more just the plan.
Okay.
So I think that's fine if you wanna vote on
The
that.
other things he's waiting on, and that gives you him time.
Yeah.
All right.
So Ted, is that a motion?
I would make a motion to continue 110 Brookfield Road till November 16th.
Well, we're gonna extend.
Extend.
We're gonna
I think I heard him
their-
say extend.
Give him an extension to,
That's right, give them an extension.
I'll second that.
Rephrase that. I'm going to withdraw that motion. I'll make a new motion to extend 110 Brookfield Road until November 16th, 2023.
Second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Edwin Glass in favor.
Roy Bishop in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
all right,
Okay. We set an appointment next Thursday, you and I, Aaron, to work on the,
Sure.
Ooh.
Yeah.
bonds.
Yeah.
not first thing in the morning, because I'm going to the Bruins game, opening night at
Well, don't.
the
yeah,
Garden. You guys won't be there probably.
You wanna come in after Aaron's had coffee anyway, so.
Yeah, 11 or beyond is good.
Heck, well, save me a piece of coffee. Yeah, 11 o'clock would be fine.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
All right, so, and I also handed out here, so, two things, for updates. One, I ended up putting on the agenda, it wasn't on the one that you got prior to when we posted it, but I do have an update on the 30 River Road enforcement order that we have. So one thing, and I had given you, some information there, sorry to give it to you kind of last minute here. So one thing, is that we did get correspondence, or copied on correspondence, so there's, a superseding order of conditions on the property, you guys aren't familiar with this, with DEP for them to do the cleanup restoration work to the damaged wetlands on the property of the campground. DEP did give them a deadline of, I believe it was April 15th of this year to have that work completed. They didn't do it, so they did ask DEP for an extension on that, or they did initially inform DEP that they weren't able to do it and they want to do it next year. DEP did advise them that they have to ask for a formal amendment from DEP for that. So the letter you have is one of the letters you have is what they submitted to DEP. They also need to do a legal advertisement to DEP for that. Right after we got this, I don't think it's been done yet, so I will work with DEP on that. We did also receive the letter from Ecotech, a copy of the letter from Ecotech to their attorney, their property owner's attorney. And with this, he's saying that they will they're gonna clean up the pond on the off-site property that we're concerned about. I went through and looked at this and kind of went back and looked at, we had a third party go out and review the off-site areas that were impacted, which included a pond and a stream. I would recommend, I mean, this is not a letter to us. I think that what I'd like to do is give town council some comments on this.
Definitely.
And ask them that they formally submit something to the Conservation Commission saying that they are committed to cleaning up the pond as well as the stream. The stream is not noted in this document. And that they will do that work per, what was recommended by Interfluve, which was our third party out there, like actually referencing their report, because I went back and he's very specific about the areas and how much sediment, et cetera, to come out of there. And I think that's really important that we make sure it's done correctly. So what I would also add to that is that Right, there's a set completion date, so we have a timeline of when they're going to do this. They write that it's to address the former enforcement order that we had. We are not going to issue a new enforcement order to do this work. We already have one that we're working under. And then I think there needs to be a mechanism for signing off. They need to, with us on this project. And what I was thinking might be a good solution is that, I mean, DEP will have to sign off on the work that's done on the property. Maybe we can have, when DEP comes out, they can come through that area with myself to review it, and we can make sure jointly that they've kind of addressed it correctly.
Comes back before the board, can we bond it?
Under the enforcement order, no.
Right.
Good idea.
This would have been a great project if they had a bond initially. We would have probably not had a lot of the issues we had out there.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when the engineer writes the lawyer a letter on what he's gonna do, and then we happen to get a copy of it.
Right.
It's like, not protocol. So I think the letter's important. Becky's gotta go out.
Good.
Anything else? Beck?
Yeah, I do have an update on, I don't know where I wrote it.
The junkyard?
The junkyard, town council did get back to me on that too. He just heard from their council. They can do a site visit, the property owner, the lawyer, on October 24th, if anyone is available. Town council is having some communication with them because the way it was worded to me was the site visit would be with me. And I said, well, it's for the board. So and I think town council may have just told them it would be me, but so we're making sure it would be for the board as well. And as their council is there, it's recommended that our council attend with us too. So I know that's not a normal site visit date, but that's the date they're giving us as an opportunity to go out there. So I didn't know if anyone was available or if you could.
If I don't go to Oregon, which I'll know tomorrow, I'm
Is it
available that
Tuesday?
morning.
I'll be in Florida.
I can't.
You got classes, okay.
I'll let you know tomorrow.
I don't think it would be valuable if you don't have any commissioners. I don't know.
I'd like to go the next week. I'll be
Right. You
here.
could get some alternate
I'll be in
dates.
Florida. I've already got my tickets to.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can, right, we can ask them for all alternative dates beyond that time. I said that's the first date they're available, so we can,
Oh, if it's the first date, then there's a second
well,
date somewhere.
yeah, it's the only date they
So
offered,
just-
but,
I will be back Thursday. Sure, for the meeting.
yeah, I don't think they're gonna do anything
Jeff
before
Williams.
October 24th.
No carriers mentioned.
Flying out of Worcester or?
Hartford.
That's good.
Yeah, Worcester, I've had no,
November 8th would be our.
Would there,
I always end up in Providence when I fly out of Worcester.
could I ask if possible, could you just, in the next couple of days, maybe email me what your availability could be? I mean, I know we're probably not gonna be able to get everybody out there, and then at least I can say, look at it and say, all right, got 3 people this day available, and maybe we can give them a couple dates as options, since, right, it's really only you that would be able to go on the 24th,
Yeah,
so.
so get a better date.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's not
All
fair.
right, I'll ask them for more dates, and if you could get back to me with your schedules, that would be
Yeah.
helpful. Okay.
Sunday morning.
All right?
Yeah, yep. Oh, South Pond, Marita Tassi emailed. They wanted to let us know that the results of the report post-treatment of the alum treatment that we did out there were good. It says, right, at this point, we don't have any official results or reports, but volunteer Seki disc readings and general feedback from boaters on the lake indicate much improved clarity already. Another observation, the turbidity along the shore when boating activity stirs up the water and creates wave action is much diminished. More testing is planned soon by the treatment folks to get more specific data, et cetera, but all of them are well aware of the time, research, effort, and expense involved in bringing the project to fruition, and everyone is extremely grateful to the town of Sturbridge and the other 2 towns involved for supporting them and making the alum treatment happen. So they just want me to pass that along to you. And actually, I just spoke to Carl Nielsen of TRC, and they're working on their final report for that too. So hopefully in the next 6 months, we'll be done with that.
Beautiful.
All right.
Are there any committee updates? That's it?
Nothing from CPC. We had a meeting Tuesday, but there really isn't much to report. No money's being pointed in any direction, and we're doing we're going to do a mailing to residents. We're not a mailing, something more modern, but we're going to contact residents about the use of CPC funds and are they interested and what do they need, you know, kind of stuff, so.
Sign outside the police department.
What? Yes.
That's modern.
Yeah. CPC, free money. Not good. Motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.